Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful today.
Is Taylor hospitalized by Ridge? When Taylor Hayes and Ridge Forrester reconciled, her heart problem suddenly disappeared. We didn't hear about hospital visits or Taylor's broken heart syndrome ever again. All of that is going to change, though. Here are some spoilers for what will happen next on Bold and Beautiful. Viewers were skeptical of the broken heart storyline when the BNB writers first presented it last year. Although it appears that BHS exists, there were some concerns that Taylor might be exaggerating her symptoms or using hyperbole to win her spouse back. Bridge's breakup and Taylor's amazing recovery meant that we never really had any definitive answers. Taylor discovers Ridge desires Brooke's return. When Taylor learns that Ridge Forrester is still obviously in love with Brooke Logan and unhappy about Nick Marone's homecoming this week on the CBS soap opera, she will be distraught. A fight between her man and his brother over a different woman is the last thing Taylor wants to witness. Now would likely be a perfect time for Steffy Forrester's mother to stage a flare-up if she was pretending to have cardiac issues. Ridge's envy of Brooke and Nick might lead to a relapse and her return to the hospital if her heart issues were genuine. Ridge has changed his mind, but it's too late. The irony is that for months, Brooke has been pleading for Ridge to break up with Taylor and reunite with her. Given that Jack Wagner is still playing Nick Marone, it's likely too late for Ridge. Brooke would probably remind Ridge that he lost his chance if he tries to approach her right now. Steffy Forrester is aware of the obvious and has already threatened to harm Taylor if her father began to show jealousy toward Brooke and Nick Marone. The saga of Ridge Forrester and Taylor Hayes has once again reached a boiling point in the ever-twisting world of the bold and the beautiful, and it seems that Ridge's waffling heart might have some very real consequences, not just for his romantic life, but for Taylor's actual physical well-being. When Taylor's brush with broken heart syndrome, BHS, was first introduced, longtime viewers raised skeptical eyebrows, uncertain whether the acclaimed psychiatrist was truly suffering from a rare cardiac condition brought on by emotional trauma, or whether the story was yet another tool in her arsenal to keep Ridge tethered to her emotionally. But just as quickly as it was introduced, Taylor's mysterious medical issue seemingly vanished, perhaps swept away in the heat of romantic reunion with Ridge, or maybe just conveniently forgotten by writers seeking a more compelling plot. Regardless, fans who recall the original diagnosis may be more than a little intrigued to see the condition resurface now that Ridge appears to be revisiting old feelings, not for Taylor, but for Brooke. As the week unfolds on CBS's longest-running daytime drama, Taylor begins to sense that Ridge's eyes and heart are drifting yet again toward the always complicated, eternally entwined Brooke Logan, and this realization doesn't sit well with her emotionally or physically. It's been a turbulent ride ever since Ridge and Taylor reignited their romance, with Brooke relegated to the background despite her repeated pleas for Ridge to give them another chance. While Ridge insisted that he had chosen Taylor and was finally done with Brooke's emotional roller coaster, it's becoming increasingly clear that he may have simply been lying to himself and to Taylor. The reappearance of Nick Marone in Los Angeles has only added fuel to the fire. Nick, always a wild card in the tangled web of Brooke's romantic history, has returned with swagger and intent, and Ridge is not taking it well. His jealousy is palpable, his emotions volatile, and his reactions entirely inappropriate for a man who claims to be committed to another woman. Taylor, no stranger to heartbreak where Ridge is concerned, has started noticing the subtle shifts in his behavior, the faraway looks when Brooke walks into a room, the clenched jaw whenever Nick's name is mentioned, the unspoken tension that now lingers between Ridge and Brooke like an invisible third party in every scene. Steffy Forrester, always protective of her mother and all too familiar with her father's indecisiveness, has warned Ridge that his actions will drive Taylor away, and possibly do much worse. As the emotional stress begins to mount for Taylor, old symptoms begin to re-emerge. At first, it's minor, a little lightheadedness when Ridge and Brooke share a lingering glance, a shortness of breath when Ridge angrily confronts Nick about his intentions with Brooke, a flutter in her chest when she overhears Ridge say Brooke's name with too much softness. But then, things escalate. One morning, after a particularly intense argument between Ridge and Brooke at Forrester Creations, Taylor collapses while sipping coffee in the design office, clutching her chest in silent agony as a wave of pain radiates through her torso. By the time Steffy finds her mother slumped over, unresponsive, the panic sets in. She's rushed to the hospital, again, and this time, the diagnosis is clear: her broken heart syndrome has returned, likely triggered by severe emotional distress. Dr. Bridget Forrester, now practicing at University Hospital, breaks the news with clinical precision but emotional tenderness, knowing all too well what this family has endured. Ridge is beside himself. Though he may not have meant to hurt Taylor, his actions, his inability to let go of Brooke, his thinly veiled jealousy over Nick, his selfish emotional toggling between two women who have given him everything, have sent Taylor spiraling into a potentially life-threatening relapse. The guilt is overwhelming. He's been here before, hurting Taylor, breaking Brooke's heart, caught in an eternal triangle of his own making, and yet, he never learns. The hospital room becomes a place of reflection, confrontation, and painful honesty. As Taylor lays unconscious, machines beeping steadily around her, Ridge is forced to face a truth he's avoided for years, that his inability to choose, to commit, to fully invest in one love without glancing backward, has not only destroyed relationships but also endangered lives. Meanwhile, Brooke learns of Taylor's hospitalization and arrives swiftly, her face torn between concern and conflict. She never wanted Taylor to get hurt, at least not physically, and while she might have once fantasized about winning Ridge back, she never imagined it would come at such a cost. Steffi, furious and emotional, confronts both her father and Brooke in a blistering showdown outside Taylor's hospital room, accusing them of playing games with her mother's heart and warning that there may not be another chance for forgiveness this time. The medical prognosis for Taylor is cautiously optimistic, but her emotional healing may take far longer. As she regains consciousness, her first words are about Ridge, asking if he's still angry with Brooke, still jealous of Nick, still chasing the ghost of a love that has wrecked so many lives. The look in her eyes says everything. She's tired, broken, and no longer willing to be second best. Ridge, for the first time, seems to realize what he's done, not just to Taylor, but to himself. He has, perhaps irrevocably, destroyed the best chance he had at a stable, loving relationship. Brooke, witnessing Ridge's internal conflict, makes a bold decision of her own. She tells Ridge that she's done waiting for him, done being the woman he runs to when things fall apart. Nick has offered her a chance at something new, something uncomplicated, and she's ready to take it. Whether it's love or just peace, she needs a break from Ridge's endless cycle of indecision. As Ridge is left standing between two women who are both choosing themselves for once, the narrative on the bold and the beautiful takes a powerful turn. The show, known for its love triangles and romantic entanglements, suddenly becomes a story about healing, independence, and consequences. Taylor's hospitalization becomes more than just a dramatic plot twist, it's a wake-up call for every character involved. The ripple effects are immediate. Steffi demands that her mother take time away from Los Angeles to heal properly, perhaps even consider stepping away from Ridge once and for all. Thomas Forrester, deeply affected by his mother's vulnerability, begins to re-examine his own relationships and emotional decisions. Even Hope Logan, observing the wreckage from the sidelines, starts to question the impact Ridge and Brooke's toxic love has had on her family. As weeks pass and Taylor begins her recovery, the tone of the show shifts. Ridge, once the confident patriarch and romantic lead, is now a man confronting the reality of his flaws. Whether he can grow from this moment or is doomed to repeat the same mistakes remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, this time, there are real stakes. Taylor's heart, both metaphorical and literal, cannot take another beating. And the audience, long invested in these characters' fates, is watching closely, hoping for redemption but expecting drama. Because in the world of the bold and the beautiful, love may heal all wounds, but it can just as easily break hearts, sometimes beyond repair. Steffi panics, Will plots, and Ridge responds to the wedding. Will Spencer be wired as he prepares to trick Luna Nozawa? Ridge Forrester responds to Taylor Hayes' proposal of marriage in the meanwhile. Bradley Baker, the deputy chief, will attempt to obtain a warrant. While they wait for everything to become legal, Baker has also hired a surveillance crew and will have Will fitted for a wire. Will also receive guidance on how to deal with Luna from the head of the police department. If Will gets into danger and requires assistance straight away, this could include a code phrase. Finnegan, Steffi Forrester, panics. Like his father, Bill Spencer, Will definitely enjoys playing the hero. Will believes that everything will work out, but Steffi Forrester Finnegan and John Finn Finnegan will still be concerned that Luna will discover that she is being tricked. Electra Forrester may be supporting Will's scheme in the meantime. But perhaps, deep down, she worries too. Will Spencer's wiring, according to spoilers for tomorrow's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, Will go to Luna's apartment after getting fitted with a wire? Luna told Sheila that Will had discussed ending his relationship with Elektra. Sheila's eyebrows raised in surprise at that point. Could Sheila alert Luna to the treachery of the Spencer men? Or might Sheila simply tell Deacon Sharp about her discovery? It's odd that Sheila visited Luna's residence at that particular time. The fact that Luna texted Will directly in front of her grandmother is also intriguing. I must thus question if Sheila will be able to alert Luna before it's too late. Of course, Luna kisses Will in a weekly preview clip. That does not, however, imply that she has fallen into his trap. Perhaps Luna will recognize that she is being set up by tomorrow. The marriage proposal from Taylor Hayes. Nick Marone will provide Brooke Logan with some potent information in the interim. He must therefore make a decision on this information. Katie Logan attempts to gently talk with her sister while Nick keeps eavesdropping on Tridge. In a bold and risky move that harkens back to the legacy of his ruthless father, Bill Spencer, young Will Spencer finds himself at the very heart of a meticulously coordinated takedown operation, one that hinges on deception, nerve, and the untested edge of his cunning. As dawn breaks over Los Angeles, Will is already awake, his hands slightly trembling, not from fear but from the adrenaline-fueled anticipation of what lies ahead. Inside a secure back room of the LA Police Department, Deputy Chief Bradley Baker fastens a compact wire beneath Will's crisp designer shirt, his demeanor calm but professional, issuing stern warnings about the stakes involved. You only get one shot at this, Baker warns, so don't go playing cowboy. But Will, ever the Spencer, flashes a confident smirk and nods. He's inherited more than just his father's wealth, he's also inherited his flair for the dramatic, his taste for danger, and perhaps, his arrogance. While he might be eager to play the role of hero, his target is far from a helpless damsel, Luna Nozawa, the enigmatic and emotionally wounded young woman who's already been through more than her fair share of betrayal, manipulation, and secrets. As Will prepares to head toward Luna's apartment, the weight of his actions isn't lost on those closest to the unfolding scheme. Back at the Forrester estate, Steffi Forrester Finnegan paces nervously, wringing her hands and exchanging worried glances with her husband, John Finn Finnegan. Though Will volunteered for this task, both Steffi and Finn worry that it's too much, too fast, too dangerous. Luna is no fool, and she's been burned before, most notably by her own family and a paternity bombshell that nearly destroyed her relationship with R.J. Forrester. If she gets even a whiff that she's being duped again, there's no telling what she'll do. Meanwhile, Elektra Forrester, a key player in this chess match, tries to mask her growing unease. Though outwardly composed and supportive of Will's infiltration of Luna's trust, inwardly she's haunted by the possibility that Luna might not only outsmart Will but turn the tables in devastating fashion. Elektra's loyalty to her family is ironclad, but her faith in Will's plan is beginning to crack. Elsewhere, across town, another storm brews as Ridge Forrester, caught in his own emotional entanglements, finds himself cornered by the long-simmering question of Taylor Hayes' marriage proposal. Months of flirtation, lingering stares, and half-spoken promises have led to this crossroads. For Taylor, Ridge represents stability, unfinished business, and perhaps a final shot at the life they were meant to have. But Ridge, ever the conflicted romantic, still finds his heart pulled in directions even he doesn't fully understand. While Taylor waits patiently, cloaked in quiet dignity, Brooke Logan, never far from Ridge's orbit, finds herself entangled in a parallel drama of her own. Nick Marone has come back into her life, this time bearing information that could shatter the delicate balance of power between Brooke, Taylor, and Ridge. The intel he possesses, confidential, explosive, and deeply personal, threatens to change everything, but Nick isn't yet sure if he should weaponize it or protect Brooke from its consequences. Meanwhile, Katie Logan, the voice of reason in the ever-tumultuous Logan clan, pleads with Brooke to reconsider her obsession with Ridge. You deserve more than someone who waffles between you and Taylor like he's picking a dinner entree, Katie insists. But Brooke, intoxicated by the idea of destiny and unfinished love, isn't ready to let go. Back in the shadows of this emotional theater, Deputy Chief Baker isn't resting easy. Though the warrant is still pending, he's called in a surveillance team to monitor Will from a distance, just in case things spiral out of control. He's also issued Will a safe word, something innocuous, like surfboard, which Will can drop mid-conversation if he senses danger or if Luna turns hostile. The department can't officially act without the paperwork in place, but Baker knows time is of the essence. Luna is unpredictable, and if she's tipped off, not even the Spencer name will be enough to protect Will from the emotional fallout. Speaking of Luna, her own senses have been heightened ever since her earlier conversation with Sheila Carter, a name that sends shivers down the spine of anyone who knows her history. When Luna offhandedly mentioned Will's apparent breakup with Elektra, Sheila's expression shifted ever so slightly, a subtle arch of the brow that suggested much more than idle curiosity. Whether Sheila plans to warn Luna or simply file the information away for future leverage is still unclear. However, what is clear is that Luna isn't operating in the dark. She's been watching, waiting, and perhaps planning her own countermove. Indeed, Luna texting Will right in front of her grandmother wasn't a careless act. It might have been a test, or a provocation. Her instincts are rarely wrong, and something about Will's sudden surge of attention has triggered alarms in her psyche. When he shows up at her apartment, charm dialed up to 11 and compliments flowing like champagne, Luna plays along, at first. They talk, they laugh, they reminisce. Then comes the kiss, captured clearly on the surveillance feed by Baker's team. For a moment, everything seems to be going according to plan. But just as Will prepares to steer the conversation toward Luna's alleged involvement in a recent corporate leak, her expression changes. Subtle, but enough. Her eyes narrow. Her posture stiffens. "You know," she says slowly, "you're acting a lot like your father right now." It's a veiled warning, and Will knows it. His pulse spikes. Should he drop the safe word? Is the operation compromised? Meanwhile, outside Luna's building, Elektra waits in a nondescript vehicle, fidgeting with her phone and staring at the building's front door like it might explode at any moment. She doesn't know if she should trust Will to handle this or if she should storm in and confess everything. Her fear isn't just for Will. It's also for Luna, who, despite being a threat, is someone Elektra once considered a friend. Across town, Ridge finally gives Taylor her answer. In a heartfelt, teary-eyed exchange at the Forrester mansion, he confesses that while he will always love her, he cannot accept the proposal, not now, not with so many unresolved feelings swirling inside him. Taylor is graceful in her heartbreak, thanking him for his honesty but visibly crushed. As she walks away, Brooke watches from a distance, uncertain if she should feel triumphant or ashamed. At the same time, Nick Marone drops his bombshell, a piece of evidence suggesting that Ridge was coerced into parts of his romantic decision-making by someone inside Forrester Creations, someone with a vested interest in keeping Tridge apart. The ramifications could ripple through the company, the family, and the fragile alliances that have been carefully maintained for months. Back at Luna's apartment, Will tries to recover. "I'm not my father," he insists, voice low, trying to pivot the conversation back to neutral ground. But Luna smiles, not sweetly, but with the sharpness of someone who's been wounded and learned to wear armor. "No," she agrees. "You're worse. Because at least your father doesn't pretend he's the good guy." Will realizes in that moment that he's lost control. The operation is no longer about Luna's trust, it's about saving himself from becoming the very thing he swore he wasn't. As he stands to leave, Luna calmly locks the door behind him. "We're not done," she says, her voice low. "You came here to get something from me. Now it's my turn." Surveillance audio crackles with tension. Baker's team leans in. Elektra, outside, texts Baker the code word, surfboard. They move in. As police quietly swarm the building, Ridge paces in his office, torn between regret and relief. Steffi gets the call, Luna has Will cornered, but no one is hurt. Yet. Finn races to the scene. Taylor cries quietly in her car. Brooke confronts Ridge about the manipulation. Elektra, for the first time, feels truly afraid. And Luna, standing over a shaken but unharmed Will Spencer, whispers a final line that will haunt him for days: "The next time you try to use me, bring a better plan." Nick had always trusted Brooke. She was his calming chaos, his compass when life spun off course. But lately, the small things began to itch at the back of his mind: half-truths, late-night phone calls she claimed were from work, hushed voices behind closed doors, and a distant gaze in her eyes that hadn't been there before. He tried to ignore it, chalking it up to stress or imagination. But his gut screamed otherwise. Scene 2, a forgotten phone, a shattered illusion. It happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Brooke had rushed out in a frenzy, late for a meeting, and left her phone behind. The screen lit up minutes later: "See you at 4, J." Curiosity wrestled with loyalty. He hesitated. Then he opened the phone. What he saw hollowed him: a string of encrypted messages with someone named J, talk of transactions, drop points, and coded language. But what chilled him wasn't infidelity, it was criminality. Scene 3, following the trail. Nick spent the next week quietly digging. Brooke was meeting with someone in the industrial district. He followed her one evening, heart hammering as he trailed her car through the drizzle. She pulled into a fenced lot. He parked far enough not to be seen, then crept toward the warehouse. Through a crack in the metal door, he saw her, not with another man, but with two of them, standing over duffel bags filled with cash, documents, and something else: passports. Scene 4, Brooke's true identity. Back home, he waited. She came in late, smiled that soft smile, kissed him lightly, and headed upstairs. He confronted her the next morning. Calmly, he asked about the meeting. Brooke's face flickered, then hardened. "You weren't supposed to know." She confessed then, with brutal clarity, she wasn't who she claimed. She'd been part of a covert ring laundering money for high-profile clients. Her job in non-profit logistics was a cover. She had once been forced into it, she said, but she'd stayed because she got good at it. Too good. Scene 5, torn between love and justice. Nick was torn. Everything he knew about her was a lie. But he still loved her. Could he turn her in? Should he? She begged him to understand, said she'd been trying to get out, to set them up with enough to disappear. But what about the victims, the lives ruined by the operation she was part of? Could he stay complicit? Scene 6, the breaking point. A week later, the FBI knocked on their door. Someone had tipped them off. Brooke's eyes met his. No words were exchanged, but they both knew. She ran. Nick didn't stop her. Instead, he handed over the burner phone he'd found in her gym bag. He chose truth over love, justice over loyalty. It broke him. Scene 7, aftermath. Months passed. Brooke vanished. Her name was whispered in news stories, associated with an international financial crime ring. Nick tried to rebuild. He often wondered if she hated him, or if she respected what he'd done. Sometimes, he still woke up expecting her beside him. The illusion was gone, but so was the warmth.